Hey guys, this is 6.7. Let's get started. Okay, you're almost finished with chapter 7. All we're doing is factoring top. So 2 sets of parentheses. This is how you should always try to factor first. Minus minus is plus minus. If you're listing all the numbers that multiply to be 28, this is what we're looking at. 3 doesn't go in. 4 does, and that's it. So which ones have a difference of 12? So it would be 14 and 2. Finished. Over here, no GCF. This looks like the difference of squares. And that's exactly what we have here. Okay, they're both perfect squares. And that would be it for 2. Right? Now let's talk about what 6.7 is talking about, the fundamental theorem of algebra. For a while now, we've been talking about the exponent of the leading coefficient, or the degree of the polynomial. The degree of the polynomial tells you how many answers you're actually going to end up with. In this case now, we're starting to look at problems that have answers that are imaginary. So how does that affect the big picture? Well, imaginary answers can only come in pairs. And that's pretty much what they're saying here, because they're going to be conjugates. So, if you have something that has 5 answers, you can have 4 imaginary answers, 1 real, or 2 imaginary answers and 3 real, or 5 real answers. You can never have an odd number of imaginary answers. It's basically what this is saying. So when you look at number 1, if you're using that fundamental theorem, you would say there has to be 2 answers. Either both of them are imaginary, or both of them are going to be real. There is no in between. Okay, because again, there can only be 2 imaginary answers, or 4 imaginary answers, or 6, an even amount. So we're going to go ahead and just put our x's in with our parentheses. Minus plus is minus minus. We've got 7 and 7. So x minus 7 equals 0, x equals 7. Okay, now since you would have done this twice, this answer here is what you would call a double root. He counts twice. So we know that we have both of our answers, because there's 2 answers. I should put number of answers if you won't get confused. So 7 is your answer. It just happens it repeats, so you only have to write it once. Okay, so the number of answers, there are 2 answers for this one, because it is the second, which makes 2 answers. As far as solving this is x minus and x minus. This would be 4 and 2, so our 2 answers would be 4 and positive 2. So yeah, we got both real answers, 0 imaginary answers. Right? Now, the harder 2. 3 and 4 will take probably a little more space. I can't factor by grouping because there's more than 4 terms. So this is my P, this is my Q. My P would be 1, 2, 3, and 6. My Q would be 1. So the first thing I'm going to check is positive 1. No sense in even wasting time with a negative. Okay, so this is 1, 1, 6, 6, 11. This would be positive 6, which would be 6, 0. So far, positive 1 is the solution. That's one of my 4 answers. So there are how many answers? Sorry, I should have written that first. 4 total answers. We have 1 of them. Okay? So let's jump down here. 1, 2, 11, and 6 are all positive. So I need to have a negative number now. I'm going to try negative 1 first. I don't know how this is going to work. 5, negative 5, 6, negative 6. Just so happens today I'm a good guesser. So 1 and negative 1, there's 2 out of my 4. Now these last 2 could be imaginary, or they could both be real, because the first 2 were real. So I'm going to have x squared plus 5x plus 6 equals 0. These look like they're going to be real answers, because this is x plus 3, x plus 2 equals 0. So x is negative 3, x is negative 2, x is positive 1, and negative 1. So there are my 4 answers. In this case, none of them turned out to be imaginary. Okay. Number 4, I'm going to try to factor by grouping before I jump into the P and Q's. I'm going to pull out a 25 here. This is x minus 1. Good news, x minus 1 matches up, so this is x squared plus 25. Okay, so x is equal 1. Now, how many total answers? There are 3 total answers. Sorry, I should have done that first again. I just get so caught up. throughout the problem. I can't help myself. The last two, out of the three answers, it looks like one of them is going to be real. These are going to be imaginary because I cannot factor this. So what happens is I set x squared plus 25 equal to 0 separately. I get x squared equals negative 25. And x is going to equal positive negative 5i because I'm going to take the square root of this. So my three answers is 1. And then my two imaginary is positive 5i, negative 5i. Like we were saying, imaginary numbers come in pairs, which is a good example here in 4. They came in a pair. So that's the front. That's the hard part of this section. The second part of this section, which is located on the back of your notes, okay, is the following. We're going to write a polynomial function with a leading coefficient of 1 and the following zeros. The fact that it says a leading coefficient of 1 actually makes your life real simple. If I tell you 2, 7, and negative 4 are your answers or your zeros when y is 0, okay, that means x is equal to 2, x can equal 7, and, no, am I right? And x is equal to negative 4. Those were our three answers. Now, if I work backwards back to the original part, I would actually set this equal to 0. So that means I would have had an x minus 2 equals 0, and x minus 7 equals 0, and then x plus 4 equals 0. So I'm working backwards now. Now, if I had this scenario, this is where I broke my equation apart. So if I put it back together, this would be x minus 2 times x minus 7 times x plus 4. That's what would have been the next line before I broke it down. And then I would have had a factor. Well, what I'm going to do is FOIL this. This is x squared minus 7x minus 2x plus 14. And I would have had x plus 4 here yet. I'm going to combine these like terms before I start multiplying again and cut down how many products I'm going to be looking at. So I get x squared minus 9x plus 14 times x plus 4. I am now going to distribute the x in. My products from the x will be x cubed minus 9x squared plus 14x. I'm going to write my products for the 4 in red, so I have plus 4x squared minus 36x plus 56. Okay? So we're looking at x to the third minus 5x squared minus, let's see, 22x and plus 56. This was our original, okay, function. It's a function, so I have to write it as a function. Right now I have it written as an equation. So to write this as a function, my final answer would be f of x would be x cubed minus 5x squared minus 22x plus 56. And there she goes. All right, could it be simpler? Okay, but that's all the work that would go with it. Why don't we go ahead and look at 2. Now we have an imaginary answer. Now remember the argument we had on the last page. Imaginary answers come in pairs. So that means we would have had x equal positive and negative 2i. It's impossible just to have a positive 2i. Okay, so let's start with the x equals 6. That's the easy one. That's x minus 6 equals 0. This one gets a little interesting. Now, how do you get I? Well, we took the square root of a negative. So that means we had x squared equals negative 2. Now think to yourself, if I take the square root of this, and I see I made an error too. So I took the square root of negative 4, because if I take the square root of negative 4, that gets me back to 2. What's the square root of 4? 2. Square root of the negative gives you the I. So this is what you would have had for this step, which then gives you x squared plus 4 equals 0. Now that I have both these set equal to 0, I can put the pieces together. All right? And now I'm going to FOIL. We got x cubed plus 4x minus 6x squared minus 23. There's your equation. Remember, we have to write it as a function. So f of x would equal x cubed plus, should I say minus if I put this in order, 6x squared plus 4x minus 20. Okay. So yeah, the eyes are a little different. Just make sure you're going back and forth between your steps here. I always kind of go back and forth here to make sure if I solve it, I get back to what I originally had. I believe there's one more down here at the bottom. Get this guy back on here. Ooh, now we have a plus. Well, let's start simple. X equals -3. This is x plus 3 equals 0. Over here we have x equals 4 plus I, which means I'm going to move the 4 back over. I have x minus 4 equals I. Now remember, to get I, that was plus or minus. Because you can't just have one, you have two answers. So how do I get I out of there? Well, that means I took the square root, in this case, of -1. What's the square root of -1? I, positive negative. So this works out well. So then I would have x minus 4 squared plus 1 equals 0. So to get back to my original, I need to multiply my factors together. So this would be x plus 3 times x minus 4 squared plus 1. This, my friends, needs to be parentheses. Okay? Otherwise, you're just going to do it. So I need to do what's in here first. I can't do anything with this x plus 3. So this is x minus 4 times x minus 4 plus 1. Okay, so we have a little bit of FOILing to do. This is going to be x squared minus 8x plus 16 plus 1. So this is x plus 3 times x squared minus 8x plus 17. And now I need to multiply my x's. So I'm going to have x to the third minus 8x squared plus 17x. And we go ahead and multiply this 3 in. Okay, so I'm going to get 8x squared minus 24x plus 30 plus 21. Okay, so my final problem, let's see, what do we have as the highest? X cubed, followed by my squared terms, they make -5x squared. And then I have my x's, that's -7x plus 51. That's a horrible 5, isn't it? Okay. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. That's your section, okay? It's going to take time to practice. Make sure you're looking at the worksheet 6-6, or I guess this would be 6-7B for the answer key to make sure you're doing these correctly. You're going to need more practice. But again, you know how to email me, you know how to tweet at me. Fire away, guys, with your questions. Make sure you don't skip out on any problems, and we'll see you in class here, all right? Hopefully you guys are doing well. I'll catch you later.